Year 8s, so this is the second video for constructing your boxer shorts. So we are going to start sewing in this video. So this video here should cover steps 1, 2 and 3 of the construction of your shorts. Okay, so we are now going to look at sewing the inner leg seam. So it's these sides down here. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to be sewing them together, and we need to sew one front and one back together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a back, and I'm going to grab a front. And what we need to do is, like always, make sure that the right sides are facing and they're in the middle. Okay, and that the outer sides are lined up. All right. Now we are sewing this side together just here. Now as you can see, they are different sizes. So even though my right sides are facing, it doesn't quite look like they are fitting. All right, that is only because of the way the crotch sits and the front and the back part of the shorts. So what we need to do is we need to rule a seam 1.5 centimeters in with some tailor's chalk, mark, pin, sew, and then overlock. So I have measured 1.5 centimeters from the edge. I have drawn a line with a ruler and some tailor's chalk, and I have now pinned these seams together. Okay, so you need to go ahead and you need to do that for both pairs and both parts of your shorts. Okay, so beautiful. So now they are both pinned and I am ready to move on to the sewing machine. So when we are moving on to sewing, okay, we need to always make sure that we test our machine first on some scrap fabric. So I've tested my machine here and I'm happy with how it's working. So we are going to sew these two together. So my wrong sides are on the outside and my right sides are facing. Okay, so when we are ready to sew, we are going to line up the presser foot here, and we are going to line it up on the line that we would like to stitch. So we need to go forward for a couple of stitches, and then we need to reverse, and then keep going straight. Remember to stop and take the pins out as you go. And lovely, our first crotch seam in our boxer shorts has been sewn together. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next one now. Perfect, so I'm now at the overlocker and I have sewn both of my crotch seams together on the sewing machine. So now it is time to overlock this edge just to neaten it up. So when using the overlocker, there should always be a little tail of thread left on the outside. So this helps it to stay threaded, and it also allows you to catch on it, okay, and it works best. So anything that goes past this side of the overlocker, so down in here, is going to be cut off. So there's a little sharp pair of kind of scissors in there, and the fabric that is on this side, okay, so if I was to line this up, all of this fabric that's hanging over here would be cut off. So all we need to do when overlocking, it's fairly simple, is just lift up the little edge of the foot there. So just lift this little foot up, okay? And we need to thread in our fabric, so you just have to lift it up a tiny bit, thread it in, and anything that goes over this side here will be cut off. So I don't really want to cut anything off, but I am going to make sure that my lines are straight and even, okay? So watch what happens when I sew. Now, keep going and pull, 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 pull. And then you can grab your scissors and chop. beautiful. So this seam has now been overlocked. So as you can see, okay, it's got a nice, neat edge on there now, okay? It's been overlocked on both sides, and that is our first inner leg seam done. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second one now. Okay, so now that our inner leg seams have been sewn together, we are going to look at sewing our big U shape in here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are lining them up properly. So we need to make sure that we are lining both the fronts on top of each other and both of the backs on top of each other as well. All right, so remember, the back has the bigger curve and the front has the smaller curve, and we are needing to line them all up so that it fits perfectly and the seams are all in line. Okay? What we are going to do is we are going to actually do this a little bit differently. So we are still going to measure 1.5 centimeters and sew all the way around. We are then going to overlock all the way around, but then we're going to go back and we are actually going to sew it again. So we're going to sew this part twice, because this part is the crotch, okay, and it's the bottom of your pants. So when you sit down, there will be lots of pressure, and we want to make sure that it's attached well so that it doesn't come apart, all right? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are pinning these and that we are marking these with our fabric chalk, okay, ready to sew. So I'm going to go ahead and pin them first. Okay, so my boxer shorts have now been pinned, okay, and I have marked, I have not drawn one straight line, but I have done lots of little dashes all the way around at 1.5 centimeters so that I know where to sew. Now, lots of you might be panicking and thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to sew this big U? Watch what happens when I pick up one side of the fabric. Okay, I can sew down here, all right? I can straighten out the crotch. This part will go back behind the machine, and I can keep sewing and sewing and sewing, and the whole seam for the boxer shorts for this inner leg is pretty much straight now. And this is how you will overlock it as well. Okay, so don't stress thinking that you're going to have to sew in a big U. It is the way that you maneuver the fabric and the way that you position the fabric that will allow you to sew it in pretty much a straight line. Okay, so both of my right sides are facing together. Okay, it is pinned, it is marked, and the little seams that we have down here, the little inner leg seams, I have actually folded them over to the side towards the back. Okay, I've folded them over towards the back, both of them, so that they're going to stay nice and neat. So I'm now going to move over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew this in one big U. Then I'm going to move over to the overlocker and sew it in one big U. Okay, and then go back to the sewing machine and sew it all together again. All right, and I will show you what it looks like at the end. So now would be a good time for you to pause and do so yourself. But remember, you do have a set of instructions, okay? So read them if you are still a little bit confused. We're going to sew twice and overlock once on this part of the fabric, okay? To make it nice and strong. I'll show you my finished result when I'm done. Beautiful, so now if you can see, I have overlocked and I have a double row of stitching on this big U shape inside my boxer shorts here. So if I hold it up close, you'll be able to see what it looks like. But there's the row of stitching in through there. Okay, and the overlocking seams. Alright, so now your boxer shorts, once we fold them in the right way and get them sorted, they should actually be starting to look like boxer shorts. video goes with the step number 3 in your instructions, okay, which is now the side seams of our boxer shorts. So as you can see, all right, this is how they were before, and then when you fold them and kind of adjust them around, they now actually look like boxer shorts. So we are going to be working on pinning and sewing these side seams. So remember, as always, we need to make sure our boxer shorts have the right sides facing, okay, and so that we are showing just the showing just the wrong side, sorry. Now, when it comes to pinning and sewing the side seams, you have all done this before, okay? It is exactly the same, nothing is different. The only thing is, you will find laying your piece of fabrics down on top of each other that one side is bigger than the other and that the edges don't really match up that well. That is because we have a back and we have a front. So it is more likely, I'm hoping, that people's back will be bigger than the front, okay? And so we need to make sure that we are lining the seams up, but we will have a lot of gathering of fabric here. We will have a big lump of fabric that's just kind of floating around. Now don't think that that is wrong, okay? It all actually works out, and once we put it all together and start sewing, the back needs to be bigger. Okay, so don't stress if you've got a bit of a gathering and excess fabric down here. Okay, so for step 3, we need to line up the side seams. So these are the sides of our boxer shorts. We need to line them up. We need to pin them. We need to measure 1.5 centimeters and rule a line. Okay. And then we need to sew and overlock like always. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pin, measure and rule my side seams right now. Now at this point, all of my side seams, both of them are pinned and they are measured. If you are thinking that your boxer shorts are looking way too big at this point, don't worry, because we do have to take some in on the sides. They will get folded down about 5 centimeters from the top and a little bit at the bottom as well. So don't panic that they are looking a bit too big, okay? So now I'm going to move on to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew 1.5 centimeters down each side of my boxer shorts to hold them together. And after this step, they really should start to look like boxer shorts. I have sewn one side seam of my boxer shorts, so I'm going to show you how I do the other. So you need to make sure that you're removing the pins as you go and that you are reversing at the top and at the bottom to really secure our stitching in place. I'm stopping to take the pins out as I go, and I'm keeping the fabric threading through really evenly. Beautiful, so there is my side seam all stitched. Both of them are done, and I'm now going to move on to the overlocker. So remember when overlocking that we are only wanting to neaten the edges up. We don't want to cut off heaps of fabric. So little scraps like that are fine, okay, but we don't want to cut it all off. So I lift up the little end, pop my fabric under there, put my foot down and beautiful. So this is the end of video 3 now. So as you can see, my shorts, when I turn them in the right way, are now all attached, okay? They're attached at the sides and down here in the crotch and at the front, all right? And they are starting to look like boxer shorts. So well done everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.